Hi, everyone. Welcome to our next guest with Donna and Sandrine, and I'm Donna.
And I'm Sandrine.
Welcome to our next guest. Our next guest is where we bring you the real stories of the people behind the titles. You can expect our guests to be from all kinds of industries, from business, from corporate, from tech to academia, and everything in between. We uncover the moments, the mindset, the missteps, and the earnings that got them their stripes. And in each episode, we invite people from our network, some that wanted to be here, some that we really forced to be here. No, just kidding. And some that we got introduced to, someone that we admire, and someone that we think has a story worth hearing. And today's guest is Florence Poirel. Florence, welcome to our next guest.
Thank you for having me.
So, Florence, just to give a quick intro about you. So, you bring a rare blend of productive innovation, intentional living, and conscious life design to everything you do. With over a decade of experience in tech, including pivotal roles at YouTube, where you focus on child safety and abuse prevention, but also more recently with Google Gemini team in AI product development, you played a key role in shaping tools that impact millions. At the same time, you remained committed to a life of purpose beyond the workplace. Now you're entering a new chapter guided by the principles of FIRE. So, for the one who do not know, financial independence, retire early, with a personal goal of stepping away from full-time work by age 40. Your story is one of soulful ambition, and we are really pleased to have you on board today.
Thank you so much. What a great intro.
We're really excited to have you, Florence. And one of the questions we always ask, as we're giving you this virtual stage, when you walk on stage, what's like your stage song? What song would be playing as you get introduced to the stage?
Oh damn! I remember there was that question, and I was like, I need a song. Um,
Or you can also give us a vibe if that works better. Like,
there's a song now, and I need to find the name of it. But when I reach, and we're gonna talk later about it. When I reach my fire number, I can explain later, and quit my job at Google, I posted it on Instagram, and there was this song of I like to walk on fire or something like that. And
oh,
I'll find it before the end of this call
okay.
and share it. But it was like that's the vibe. Something fire, kind of like energy pumping up. Yes.
I feel that fire is a recurring theme here. We're
Absolutely.
going to set this show on fire.
That sounds great.
And I can see you embody that so well also, like from, a color point of view. It's so
Thank
vibrant.
you.
I mean, Florence, without waiting, because you just like teased us about the fire principles, but we would love to hear more about your story. So, can you tell us more, like from Google to
Yes,
now?
yes, for sure. So I turned 37 last week. I am
Congratulations.
Thank you. I am French, as you can tell. I started, let's say, my international journey between my bachelor degree and my master degree. I took 1 year to go work in the US as a student when I was 21. And that is, I want to say, the start of my expat life journey, because I was like, I love living abroad. I love not speaking French as my daily language. I love just interacting with international folks. That's going to be my life. So I came back to France, finished my master degree, and I worked for a year and a half in Belgium, but being from north of France, it's kind of like a 45-minute drive that was not really working abroad. But after that, I was like, okay, I need the expat life now. I don't want to stay in France. Let me go to Dublin. I kind of had never been, didn't know anything about it, didn't have a job, didn't have housing. But I quit my job on a Monday morning, and 2 weeks later, packed all of my stuff.
Wow.
I don't recommend, I recommend a small luggage, but packed all of my life and went to Dublin and then started the new chapter, which at the time meant finding housing, first thing, and then looking for work. And it took me a while to find employment. That actually took 3 to 4 months of applying to different jobs. Dublin is kind of the tech Silicon Valley, of Europe. And I really wanted to work in tech because that seemed fun. So I applied for, the Twitter and LinkedIn and all of that. And eventually I got contacted on LinkedIn by a recruiter for a job at Google. At the time, it was not a full-time, it was a contractual work, and it was a 11-month contract with the YouTube team. What's pretty funny is I always had such an imposter syndrome thing of what are my qualifications to, work in that job. So for the context, I work in the YouTube abuse team, which means that we are reviewing content that can be violating policies on YouTube to protect users in general. And I started with purely French content. I think the reason why I was initially hired was because I spoke French, and obviously there's content from all over the world, and they needed specifically French speakers at the time. And I started working there. After 6 months, a full-time job opened with the team. I applied, I got that full-time job, and I became child safety policy specialist. So
Wow.
it pretty much meant reviewing content, including abuse of children online in different shape and forms. It's a very intense type of job. Every time somebody asks me about it, I do not recommend it. I think it had great things in the sense of opening my mind to, there's so much of the world we don't know until you see a video from somewhere in the middle of Africa and you're like, that's actually happening there. Mind blown. So that was pretty interesting for 22, 23-year-olds. First job, but that's what got me in Google in tech. Even if you want to go into detail for that, or if you want me to jump directly to the fire journey.
I think it's interesting, but I think it's more, let's not go into the specifics of what you saw maybe,
Oh yeah,
but more into the specifics of how you felt. Because what did it do with you and your journey into what's next? Or,
yes.
I mean, how does one even get used to seeing that on a day-to-day basis? That's already a question number one.
Yeah. So I have to say, you don't get used to it.
No.
And so when I say I was in charge of child safety specifically, I was a point of contact for child safety, but that's not the only thing I did. I was also looking at terrorist content, hate speech, porn, any kind of anything you can imagine on the internet. We were looking at that, and we were a team. Now that team is 10x bigger 7 years later, or nearly 10 years later. But at the beginning, it was a small team. And you never get used to that content. I lost sleep over it. I actually burned out, literally from it. It impacts people from very different ways, even as crazy as impacting, someone's personal life with their significant other, or their life with their children, or whatever, because it can be really hard. What that led to is multiple things. From a professional perspective, I was like, I need to get out of this. I want to become a project manager, which was a change of career ladder in Google. So I was working towards a different career path. And personally, I burned out 3 years and a half after I started. And when I say that is I ended up in the hospital and did 3 trips for suspected pulmonary embolism and stuff like that. I was traveling a lot to India and the US because I was a trainer and quality specialist and all that. So this was very intense. And that's what led to my next step, because when I burned out, ended up in the hospital, the week of my sister's wedding, we nearly thought I was not going to attend the wedding. That was traumatic. I was actually put on medical leave for 1 month. So I returned to my parents' place for 1 month that summer. So it was June 2017. And call it serendipity or whatever. I go on our internal job search at some point, and I see a program manager role junior, so like the level that I could transfer, because when you do a career ladder change in Google, you kind of are down leveled, or you need to start at a equivalent type level. So I found a junior program manager role in Zurich, and I had wanted to move to Switzerland for quite a while at that point. For the research teams, which now merge with DeepMind. And I applied for it, and completely accidentally, I nearly want to say it, managed to do the full process while I was on medical leave, which was perfect timing, because you know it as well, right? When you look for a job, it's never the right time. You're too busy for work, you don't have the time, blah, blah, blah. That was perfect timing. And then I arrived in Switzerland October of that year, so October 2017, and started working with the research team that work on Gemini and other great kind of machine learning AI technologies. And also, this is how I met my partner, because he was sitting right beside me at the office. And that's kind of what started my fire journey.
You don't have to look far.
Sorry?
You don't have to look far.
I didn't have to look far at all. It's funny because at the beginning, I had a steep ramp up to do from a technical perspective, because it was a completely new world at Google for me. I had been very YouTube house, YouTube department.
Yeah.
It's kind of a unity by itself, entity by itself. And now I was in this big Google world of like very fun product development, which was very interesting. And I remember my partner at the time, when we were just friends at the beginning, would be explaining to me TensorFlow and all of the machine learning and like AI type of thing. And I was like, all right.
Sure.
If you say so. But the main thing here is we got together in January 2018, so not long after I arrived in Switzerland. And he is 17 years older than I am. So when it clearly became serious, I was like, okay, if I retire at 60, you'd be 77. That doesn't sound very fun. What is it that we're going to do then, right? And that's what started, where I went on Google and searched, like, how can I retire way earlier than 60? And I discovered this, let's call it movement of FIRE, Financial Independence, Retire Early. And I think the acronym, it's so much more than retiring early. But that's what really started the mindset of, okay, is it possible to even do that? And then how do I do that? And the journey really started at that point of putting the numbers down. At that point in time, I had been at Google for like 3 years and a half, 4 years. I didn't know how many Google stocks I had. I had never logged into my retirement plan. I had zero idea of what was happening there. So that was the first step of like, okay, where do I start, right? Yeah. How much do I have now, and how much would I need if I wanted to stop earlier to work? And then what would be my target number, let's say. So at the beginning, it was purely math. I have a full spreadsheet that has now 50 tabs, but that was purely a math exercise of how much would I need really to retire. But if you think about that math, then it's like then it's life planning, life design, right? Of what do you want to do during your life?
Yeah.
Buy a house. Where do you want to live? Do you want to have children or not children? All of that has a money number attached to it, right?
There's a price tag. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that, I think, is really what started my mental shift. From that point, until that point, I was very career oriented. I was actually resisting at the beginning getting in with my partner, because I was like, for performance evaluations and whatnot at work, it's going to be a problem. I'm going to not, you're not going to be able to give me evaluations, because that would not be okay. And I was purely thinking about it from a career perspective. Getting in a relationship is not a good move there, But once we were in that relationship and then started thinking about money, I realized how much career didn't matter to me at all, in the sense of, in the professional journey, climbing the ladder to where? Zero interest in job titles. I do not care at all. And then I realized as well, more money to do what? I clearly realized I already knew, but that I do not want to have children. So once I die, I just want to die with zero. I mean, enough to get rid of me. But other than that, I don't need to have extra money. And if you think about it from a perspective of what amount of money do you need so that you can just spend it all?
Yeah.
I'm expecting to, live until 100, but who knows? So if you do that, then it's a pure math exercise of how much money would you need,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then focus on enjoying life. And that has been a turning point in my life mindset and design.
I like it. It's like re-architecturing your life and redefining actually what success is, right? Because isn't that how we always measure, like our success? Okay, the next step on the corporate ladder, the next step in earning more. And exactly like you said, more to do what,
Yeah.
right?
And the societal pressure is real, right? And I think as women as
Mm-hmm.
well, we have that a lot of. I think the
Mm-hmm.
mindset of, if you're not constantly promoted, what are you
Yeah.
doing with your job?
Yeah.
Someone who, is a director level, oh, it's a fancier life, or they're more successful than you because they're not
Mm-hmm.
a director. It's like, maybe
Mm-hmm.
they're miserable. And
Mm-hmm.
and defining what success looks like for you, right?
Yeah.
So for a lot of
Yeah.
people, it means maybe getting married, maybe buying that house, maybe having 2 kids. I don't know. There's also so much of that pressure, right? Of like, I like to say the societal ranking of
Yeah.
being single is not as nice as being in a relationship, which is not as nice as being married. If you get divorced, they're like, oh my God, that's a failure in that trajectory, right? Well, it's ridiculous because if you think about
Yeah.
personally taking out what society expects of you or what you think society expects of you and really think about what you want, it's so free,
Yeah.
Buying
It
a
is.
house is absolutely not on my plan because I love renting. It means that you get to live in nice places. You can change anytime you want in like 2 months and you pack up and you go somewhere else. Lovely. I have a problem with anything. I just call the landlord. I don't have to do anything. That's a nice place
Exactly.
I love. And yeah, and I think that's exercise of introspection of what success looks like for you. And
Yes.
designing kind of, I have my life vision. I actually have it on a post-it,
Oh,
which is
that is so cool.
to live a kind, healthy, and happy life. And when you think about that, work is really not on that list in any shape or form.
Mm,
It finances it. Work can bring the money to finance it, the life. But
yeah.
other than that, it's very secondary in the list of priority.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love like this approach. Huh? I mean, as you well said, huh? There is this pressure of as much as you do, you are on the right track. You are like hyper connected, hyper active, hyper multitask, hyper perfectionist. We are just hyper, and it's I hyper connected. And there was like this sense of, okay, moving to slow life and from the doing to the being. And I'm getting curious because obviously this is a shift, huh? Google, big company, tech leader to, all right, fire. So you said, okay, you started research, but how, I mean, take us on this journey of how did you maybe get inspired or hooked by, because there are so many methods out there, there are so many principles out there. Why fire? What appealed to you at the time or
I mean,
still appeals
I
to
would
you?
say, yeah. So by itself, fire is a mindset, right? And I think a lot of people get really hooked on, oh, so financial independence is one thing. I think a lot of people align with that mindset and I love it. Early retirement, already we're losing people because they're like, but I don't want to retire early. What am I going to do? Sit on the beach all day, reading a book, drinking cocktails. And it's like, that's a very limited description of retirement. There's so much more you could be doing in retirement, right? There's also this notion that retirement equals absolutely not working anymore.
Mm.
Who
Mm,
says? A lot of people in the FIRE movement are getting shade because they have a blog or YouTube channel that brings in money. Therefore, they're not officially retired. I think everybody has a different definition. Or there's a main definition of what retirement looks like, but everybody should develop their own. What for
Yes.
me, FIRE is a mindset of life freedom. Deciding what you want your life to be, and then finding a way to get there. And usually it means money, because we are a world that needs money to function. And so for me, this is really that. The mindset that attracted me to that. So first, in terms of inspiration, my inbox is just flooded with all things FIRE. I follow and listen and whatever to 20 blogs and podcasts and YouTube channel. I mean, it really became so much of my inspiration of listening to people sharing that journey as well, right? And everybody has very different journeys. You know, for some people, it's living in a camper van in the US and constantly being on the road. I mean, that's not my lifestyle, but that's one lifestyle. For some other people, it's doing something else. And so very different lifestyle within it. And I gained strong inspiration from listening to these people and being like, I could do that. That could be me,
Yeah.
And I think that's lovely to know that there's so many ways to get to that endpoint, because that endpoint is not the same. It's not one goal for everybody to get there, right? Everybody their own. I did a workshop or whatever, free content on YouTube from a couple called the Donigans, and I can share the links, which is called Design Your Extraordinary Life. Wow. And they had this exercise of okay, you're waking up, it's your perfect life, knowing that perfect doesn't have to be the definition of perfect, and doesn't have to be this amazing, I'm waking up on the yacht kind of thing. If that's for you, that's great. But it was pretty much the exercise of, okay, you're waking up and you are living a day in your extraordinary life. What does it look like? And I started kind of defining, and over time that changed, right? But I started defining what would it look like. And for me, it was like waking up naturally, no alarm, no nothing, when my body feels rested. Getting up, having a glass of water, and then enjoying my coffee, looking at the lake, because I have a flat that looks at the Zurich Lake, for 2-3 hours, as long as it takes for me until I feel like doing something to my day. Then exercising a bit, then having a nice, healthy lunch. And then in the afternoon, no idea, doing what feels like good the day, meeting friends, watching TV all afternoon, anything that is like controlling my time 100%.
Right.
And then once I really thought about that, it was just, how do I make that happen more and more? And some of that happened while I was working. Waking up without an alarm. Google is great for that. They're not waiting for you at 9 a.m. to log in. There's flexibility to when you start your day. So I was able to sleep as long as I wanted at that point. Also, I'm not the kind of person who would sleep 10 hours, so that's easy enough. And enjoying my coffee before work, I was able to do that as well. And then I just started to think, how can I add more and more and more and more of that throughout my day? And and once you think about it that way, it's just a question of optimizing. How do you do it?
How do you make it happen? It sounds deeply intentional, right? Absolutely. Deeply intentional, as in you design how you want to, create this perfect environment. Yes. Now, a couple of questions about that, because how do you now measure your success? Or do you still feel the need to measure success for yourself? Because how are you now going to reflect on, gosh, what I'm doing? I'm happy with what I'm doing and where I'm going. Yeah. And I don't even know if it's called success, because I mean, again, this is a framework that we have sort of created for ourselves, but maybe do you still feel the need to define success for yourself? What's happening on that level?
So, for me, yes, I do. My definition of success is to be happy. And to be happy, there's different things that can happen, right? It's to be healthy, to be kind, to have, different elements. But that's my notion of success. And I can easily evaluate at any time of the day, am I happy right now? Right now, I can say I'm extremely happy because I love connecting with people. I love connecting with like-minded women as well who design their own life. And so I'm having a great time right now talking with you.
Yeah.
But so, so it's very easy for me to evaluate at any time. And you can't be always happy, right? Like that's just not feasible. But it's finding out what I can control and what I can't control, even if it makes me sad. That's it. There's nothing I can do about it. I move on. I'm a lot into introspection, meditation, things like that as well. So that's an exercise I've been doing for many years. And then when there's something really happening in my life that doesn't make me happy, and I can control it, is taking proper steps to do that. So my success metric is really happiness. And I know for some people it may seem completely unambitious or like completely, that's not valuable in any way. But that's mine specifically.
Yeah.
By the time I die, if I'm on my deathbed, am I going to say, I wished I had worked more? Probably not. Am I going to say, I really want to think of like, what would I say, right? What would have made me think that was a happy life? And when you think about that way and look back into what are some of the actions, in Google, we had OKRs, objective and key results, and you have a big, and then we worked out. I did that for my life. Of like on a personal level, what would be my OKRs and how do I go into the actual daily action that would be there?
Yeah.
Now, there's one point with that is value. Society is really keen on being a valuable entity for society. So, sometimes I'm saying that I'm not working, people are like, oh, so you're just, draining the resources of society. And like, first, no, I'm not on unemployment benefits. I do not get any money from the government. I still pay taxes, quite a lot of them as well. I still pay for, anything when I go out. So I'm still financially contributing to society. And I'm also still providing value from a professional perspective in the sense that I coach women in career development. I used to do that when I was at Google and I kept a lot of my mentees. And like, I provide value to these women who are working in companies and therefore are providing value to their companies and therefore to the industry at large and to society. So I think as well this notion of what people think is value and a lot of people retiring, just traditional retirement, sometimes have a hard time because they feel like they don't have a value for society anymore. And that's what a lot leads to depression and things like that when value is so much more than what you do for work. So much more than that. And people need to change that mindset.
Yeah. And on that note, because you mentioned obviously like the perception of people, regarding like you basically like not working. Okay, she's on the couch, maybe like sitting and doing nothing. What might be the other limited beliefs or judgment that you had to face? Because we understand the resources or what the FIRE principles and method brought to you. Obviously, you said, oh, and we can see it's contagious. You're like, shining, rising. But maybe what are maybe the limited beliefs that you had to debunk for yourself or for others to really feel happy, as you're saying?
Yeah. So I think some of the limiting beliefs of that is first, people think that it is there's multiple ones. One is it's a very frugal lifestyle, as in you must be living in a shoebox, eating pasta every day, doing nothing fun at all. Now, I live in a nice 4-bedroom apartment looking at the Zurich Lake, very comfortable, and I eat whatever I want to eat it, and I have a very pleasant lifestyle with what I enjoy doing. Now, I'm a very frugal person in the sense that my hobbies are actually pretty cheap. I like hiking. Apart from the train ticket, the car drive there, then it's free. I have a very laid back kind of look on that. I'm very minimalist as well and things like that. So that helps. So it's not being extremely frugal. It's really just, it can be enjoying the life as much as you want, depending on how expensive your lifestyle is. I remember friends would be like, you never go on vacation. And to be fair, I enjoy vacations here and there, but I'm lazy. I really enjoy being home and relaxing. I sleep badly as soon as I'm outside of my home. So, 5-star hotel doesn't do it for me because I'll sleep badly. And on top of that, I pay a lot of money. I'll be grumpy at breakfast for sure. So, for me, my enjoyment was like, I don't put money in vacations or bags or shoes or whatever. I put it in ETFs in the stock market. For example, that's how I spend my money. You're buying this and I'm buying that instead. For example, completely different lifestyle. But it's very much a difference in that, right? So another bias or like mindset, but we talked about that already, is this notion of retirement means doing nothing. It's going to be extremely boring and people are like, I can't do that. First, I think there's two elements. One is it doesn't have to be doing nothing. You can do anything you want. That is the point. You can do anything you want if you could control your time. So that's one. And the second thing is there's such, and you mentioned that, Sandrine, there's such a thing about being busy, doing things. You have to be doing things. So when I said I was taking for our mini retirement, it's supposed to be a career break. It was supposed to be 1 year and I was having too much fun. I'm like, okay, a year and a half. And people are like, oh, are you going to be touring the world? World tour and whatever. And
Yeah.
I'm like, that sounds exhausting. Absolutely not. I did a few trips. So I spent 1 month in Australia in March, and I'm going to spend 1 month in Brazil in July. And I went hiking here and there. Outside of that, I love my home. It's comfortable. I spend some days 12 hours on my couch reading a book or watching Netflix, and I don't feel bad about it. Some people are like, this is boring, this is doing nothing, you should be doing so much, right? Constantly producing something, doing something, being. People do not know how to sit with themselves anymore. They do not know how to just be there, be present. I do a lot of VC with friends that I have everywhere in the world, and it's being able to start a call. We said it would be 35 minutes, and 2 hours later, we're still having the GBC, being fully present, not being on my phone, not doing anything at the same time. I love that.
Yes.
Or,
That is so nice.
Yes. Or just drinking coffee for,
Yeah.
I mean, not that I drink a lot of coffee, but my drinking is slow. 3 hours on the couch in the morning, looking at the lake, listening to music. I have no problem with that because that's how I value spending my time, which is slow living, relaxing, taking care of myself. Cortisol levels for everybody are so high. Mine are pretty low, I think. I'm chill all the time, and that's valuable to me. That's success to me.
That is so nice. In one of our previous podcasts, we had a chat with Cecile Latosa, and she had lived in China, and she explained that, people are very comfortable also with this passive mindset. They don't review it or look at it as something negative. They're like completely at ease, and it's part of being.
I love that.
And here in the West, we often look at it as, oh my God, it's failure. You're not doing anything. Or, get yourself going, man. Come on, there's something to do somewhere. Get busy. And I really like that you're saying that. But what I also wonder at the same time is, so do you ever have this urge, or do you feel that you have to continuously calm yourself down, or does it come naturally?
No, it's very, I'd say, I always joke with friends that my emotions in general, even before Fire Life, if it goes from a spectrum, some people, they do that. Mine have always been very like that. I'm very, that's, there's my benchmark and I don't diverge too much from it. So being, zen or whatever, let's say on a daily thing is my default a bit. Now I get, stressed out and anxious. There's something that doesn't work and it gets me animated. Of course, right? That happens. But otherwise on a daily basis, now that I'm not working anymore, it helps a lot because there's very few things that would trigger stress in my daily life now. And it's funny because I've always been worried with money. I grew up in a very frugal family and all that. So money always was super important to me. And when I was working, I was checking then in the fire journey, my tracker every day. Where am I on my finances, whatever. Since I quit, I barely looked into it. You know, we had a huge market crash earlier this year. I stressed about it for sure because I'm not working anymore and a lot of what I have is invested. And then I was like, you know, it will come back up. If it doesn't, society has greater problem than the market crash. And and so it's very easy to just be chill about it now because there's not a lot of trigger elements. And this is the thing, I make a point at removing trigger elements. For example, even in people that I connect with, I can identify now clearly all of the people that trigger negative response. They have been blocked on LinkedIn. I know the type of, request that I'm like, I am not even entertaining a call with you because I'm not going to be enjoying it. And it's very good once you can really decide on all of that. And I think a lot of people can decide. It's just that there's such a pressure of meeting everybody and doing all of this and all of that. But if you give yourself, how do you say, the choice, and you're like, I am properly going to decide who I interact with and how I spend my energy and my time. It's so valuable.
The permission, right? You give yourself permission. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, people have to think, and that's one thing that came to me is time is the only thing you cannot save. You cannot, it's very limited. You cannot pause it. You cannot borrow it from someone else. You cannot whatever. And I became ruthless on how do I spend my time. And time wasted from what people would say is wasted time, like sitting on the couch watching Netflix for 4 hours, is not wasted to me because I make the conscious decision of that is what is going to make me feel good for the next 4 hours. Therefore, I'm just enjoying it, and I have permission to enjoy. And I don't care if other people don't feel that way about spending 4 hours on the couch watching Netflix. That's what I value for myself. And once you give yourself permission, it's great.
Yeah. When you look at the beginning of your career, right? Because you were pretty young when you started your journey at Google, when you were in the YouTube team and you saw all the abuse that's going on. Do you think that sort of impacted in how you even more value maybe your privilege on where you are in life and what you can do? Do you think that sort of planted a seed as into, oh my gosh, there is so much horror in this world. I'm going to make the most of this one life that I have, and every day is sort of like a gift. Is that where that comes from?
It came in the second phase. The first phase was really hard because it made me look at the world being like, humanity is so mean and brutal and just everybody's a terrible person until proven otherwise. I really had the mindset of that. I was seeing evil everywhere for quite a while. And then afterwards, also with the fire journey, because once I arrived in Switzerland, first, Switzerland is such a peaceful vibe to live in. It helps a lot because people are kind. It's a very nurturing kind of environment. So I finally started to get out of that YouTube mind. And first, the privilege, 100%. I mean, first as well, even though, being a white woman is a privilege in itself. I started my career without student debt, high privilege. I can live in a very safe country, super high privilege. So exactly as you say, once I started looking at everything that, I define as success and happy life and even organizing my finances, right? Being able to do that at 36 is when I quit Google. I would maybe not have been able to do that if I had not been working at Google for 10 years. And before that, if my parents had not paid for my studies, right? And before that, if I had not been born in France. So there's all of that privilege that you realize in life. And then also it helps with kindness. With so much privilege should come a lot of kindness of giving back. And it's funny because you talked with Sophie earlier. I also met Nadia, Sophie's sister, and then Sophie throughout my journey here of Switzerland. And I became vegan with my work with Sophie. And even that, right, it really pushed it all the way to, financially, I just have one life to live. Let me enjoy it as much as possible. And then I was like, wait, animals have just one life to live as well. And that also a money journey is what also helped me go to a vegan journey. If you think about it, usually that's not the angle people take.
I can
So
see
kindness came from that.
I can see that there was a ripple effect. As soon as you wanted to embrace like this path with fire, then there was like this consciousness. And then,
Yes.
as you're saying, then the choice. And any choice that you are doing proactively, because people say, I don't have a choice, but obviously you always have a choice. I mean, as soon as you get influenced by others, you have the choice to accept what is. So there is a sense of acceptance. And you decided, okay, this is going to be my path. And it's really fascinating. And going to the fire methodology and for people who would love maybe to experiment and maybe embrace and take the first steps and see, oh my God, I'm listening to Florence and she's like so inspiring. And I would love also like to know more about fire. What would be maybe your one or two advices that you would give to people who don't know much about it and would like to activate or take some actions about it? What would you tell them to do or to start with?
My first advice would be really just first doing a Google a search.
All right, we feel that
A search of what is fire. Also because there's a lot of resources and people can find in their own languages and all that. So just doing a simple search already of what is fire. And then finding resources specifically for their countries, because obviously depending on the countries, there are different kind of legislation and all that. That would be one. Purely educating yourself on what it is and what it can do for you personally. But the second one is really introspection. Sitting down and trying to find some introspection exercise, and the Donigans, I don't know if you want to share the link in the description later, is something I really recommend of. What do you actually want to do with that financial independence? How do you want to design your life? What do you want your life to be? And I think that is the more crucial part, is taking a stand of stopping, whether you are, reaching burnout at work because you're working, whether you are getting married or like really thinking about I should have children or I shouldn't have children or whatever. Taking a step back and deciding, who are you doing that for? Is it really something you want to do? And that takes time. And I think also that evolves over time because we're human, we're evolving with experiences. But doing that introspection, for me, is the key point of all of this journey. Because otherwise, it's the same as what is money or whatever. To do what? What is it you want to do with that financial independence? That's the main point. Knowing yourself and pausing. I think we don't do that enough in society.
I think it's more like this, like re-engineering your career and your life, really. You look at, okay, where do I want to end up? What do I want to be at the end? And then work your way back to how do I get there?
Absolutely.
And whether that is in a corporate career or whether that is being more zen with yourself and, using whatever methodology to get there, be it fire, be it some other methods. It's maybe looking from the end status, like where do I want to end up? Yeah.
And exactly, and building up on what you said, do your research. You said at the beginning of our conversation that you were looking at blogs and you were listening to podcasts and to influencers. Is there anyone standing out for you that you would maybe highly recommend?
The Donegans. Yes, but also they're UK based, so that can be specific. I think a lot of people have country specific elements. I think, I'm gonna make I'm just there's a new book, so I just want to make sure that I have the right one. But G.L. Collins is one person. G.L. Collins, he's American, and he wrote a book called A Simple Path to Wealth. And it was meant to be for his daughter, and then trying to, talk about financial independence. And eventually, at that time, she was too young. She was not really interested. So he was like, I'm going to write a blog. And then from the blog, it became a book. It's a bit of a plug on my side because he published a second book, which is called Pathfinders, and it's story of people on the way to fire. And my journey was also shared in that book. So plug.
Oh,
Nice.
nice.
And I really like his approach because he talks about, and so he talks about the simple path. It's not the best, the most successful one or whatever. There's many ways you can tweak it, but it's a simple path of, for people like me, for example, I'm extremely lazy. I want to do something that is simple and that's it. And it's great. It teaches a lot about just the dynamics of the market and kind of consideration you should have. Like, for example, buying a house. For him, it's like, it's a lifestyle choice. Shouldn't be seen as an investment. You can go into, property ownership and rent and stuff like that, which is a work of itself as well, right? But he talks a bit about these different things that should be consideration. And I really enjoy his work. He's very laid back kind of guy. So G.L. Collins.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thanks a lot.
We will look it up. Do you see yourself returning though to a product or a tech environment someday?
So you know what? Right now, I'm not what I would say fully retired yet because I'm extremely, no, I'm not extremely. I'm a bit risk averse nonetheless. So I don't know if I can just afford to not work at all anymore. So I still want to look for work again in September. Now, will it be tech? Will it be something else? Now that I have what I call my FU money, it will be hopefully something that I enjoy. Time
Yeah.
that I enjoy spending with these colleagues on that product or that company. So luckily I have more negotiating power at this point, which
Right.
is nice.
Yeah.
So I think I will try, but what I want now is relaxed employment. I just need to pay for my annual expenses. So I just want to find a job that allows me to pay for that. And the rest of the time, have fun and live my life outside of work.
Great
Sounds
story.
amazing. Sounds amazing. A lot of these are some of the blogs that I've read or some of the podcasts I've listened to when you're in this fire movement, if you will. You also have a group of people that are just working 6 months out of the year, right?
Yes.
They only work for 6 months and then 6 months free.
You know,
It's like
that's what I
6
wanna
months
do.
you get 120% of my brain and my efforts, but then the other 6 months I'm out.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. I'm like, I just want to work through the winter month, and then the rest of the year I'm just relaxing and enjoying.
There you go.
There you go. That's the best that we will wish you, that we can wish you.
Thank
Amazing.
you.
Thanks a lot for sharing your story, Florence. I see that we are coming to a close. I don't know, Donna.
Maybe just
Yeah.
Yeah, I just had one question left. Like, do you consult or do you advise? I mean, I can imagine that there are people listening and that are like, oh my gosh, I want to talk to her. I want to get more ideas from her.
Absolutely. Yes,
Do
and
you do that?
that's one thing I keep on doing is coaching and mentoring people, specifically women, that's my bias, and on career development and financial independence. And if anyone is really interested in that, feel free to reach out. One thing I should say is I am doing that for free, and I want to keep on doing that for free because that's just my living a kind life aspect as well. And if it turns into a job, I'm going to be stressed out, and I don't want to do that. So if people reach out, I'd be very happy to do that, but also know that I may not have, a lot of free time if a lot of people reach out, just because I kind of handpick people who eventually become friends, and then it's conversation with friends.
What a
Very
great
nice.
purpose. What a great
And they can find you on LinkedIn, I'm sure.
Yes, LinkedIn is the place for me, the only one.
place to be.
Awesome.
Thanks a lot, Florence. That was a pleasure. We could go on and on and on and on, but we won't keep you longer.
No problem. Thank you for
Enjoy
having
also
me. It was so
yourself.
great.
Donna, this is always a pleasure talking with you.
Same.
For everyone watching and listening or listening to us, see you for another episode soon of our next guest. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. See you.
Bye.